All right. We are live, it looks like. So go ahead, introduce yourself, what you do, and who you help.
Lori, this is so fun. I love it. My name is Jamie Hayen. I am a video and growth coach, and I help you learn to love video. Not because, or not only because you understand it, you know what to do, you know how to talk about it, what to talk about, but because the videos that you're doing are actually getting you results. And video that converts is a whole different animal than video that you're out there just to try and get likes and views and stuff. So I try to help you use video strategically versus just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. So that's what I do, from videos to reels to workshops to master classes, all that's in my space. I specifically like working with women coaches and service-based entrepreneurs, but I dabble with those that do a few other things, but mostly that's my kind of target audience.
I absolutely love that. So, how did you get into helping people create better videos?
You know, when I was a kid, all my friends played with dolls, and most of them were playing mom to the dolls. I was playing teacher. I lined those dolls up and I was the teacher. That was my, my dream as a kid. And so as a young adult, it was no surprise that I got into learning and development. So I was a leader and inside of big corporations like FedEx, helping them do their training programs. And I did that for it's hard to even say these words, Lori, over 25 years. But corporate is, you'll love it, but the higher you get up in the organization, there's more pressure, there's more burnout, there's more do more with less. And it just started to no longer align with my needs and my values. So I started to look for something else. And a friend said, why don't you go be a coach? And I thought, what is this? I don't even know what you're talking about. And I started to dip my toes into the idea of it. And then it just went crazy from there. And my first business, I actually did public speaking coaching. And then COVID hit and I had to pivot. And so because there was no public speaking going on of any way, shape, or form. So I pivoted into virtual, and that took me into videos and workshops and webinars. And, as hard as COVID was and still is, and as tragic and devastating as it was and is, good came from it too. And for me, that pivot was instrumental in me being right where I'm supposed to be. So I'm as weird as it sounds to be grateful for something horrible. It's what put me on the path that I'm on right now.
And that's quite an amazing story, and I didn't realize all of that in terms of how you got into it because I've been in your space for a while and watched a lot of your lives.
Yes, yes. I will tell you, my first videos when I was doing public speaking, my first videos were awful, awful, awful. They were so bad. And I think I realized, like, this is the space that I can help people not be awful at it. And not only to be good at it, but to actually get results. So the pivot worked for sure.
I know you've hosted networking meetings. Why did you start doing that?
Lori, the true answer is I couldn't find a networking event that I liked. And so I decided to create my own. And I think where that comes from is, and that's not a slam on other people's networking events. I think I recognize that I can be a bad student. In other words, I tend to look for how things could be better managed, led, facilitated. That's what I spent all of those years doing. And so it was hard for me to just sit back and be a participant and not want to help coach and fix. And so I found myself going, okay, I can't find a networking space that I like, so why don't I just create my own? And so I did. And that doesn't mean that I don't participate in other people's networking events. I do. It just took longer to find the ones that feel right for me. And I know, we're going to talk about that here in a second, but I think the advice that I would give to anybody on anything, right? If you're trying to find something, it doesn't matter what it is, and you can't seem to get it to fit, create your own path. Find a way to do it your way. It's great. It's great advice. And I think we all should be doing more of it.
I absolutely agree with that, and that's how I got into the networking and collaboration space because I saw people were doing it, but there was a lot that could be improved. So,
Yes. Yeah.
what have you found as the best way to get people to attend those networking meetings?
I mean, I think, most people are going to say, you've got to promote it and you've got to do DMs and messages and videos and emails and all of this stuff. And yes, you do need to do all of that. You do need to treat it like it's a launch, so to speak. But I think it starts before you even get to that. You need to have a networking event that people actually want to come to. So it's about the strategy that you're creating in your event. Don't just copy what somebody else is doing. Find what works for you. Find the result or the transformation that you're wanting to give people through your networking event. Because when you can create something that people actually want to show up to, it's a whole lot easier to get people to come. They'll come back again and again and again, and they bring their friends and they tell other people. So I think it actually starts before all of the stuff and things. And it's about making sure that you've got I'm going to say niche. I don't know that that's the right word, but that you've got an angle for your networking event and you understand why should somebody come to this event? What are they going to get from it? What is the value that they're going to take away from it? And if you can get clear on that, it's a whole lot easier to get people to come.
Yeah, and some of that I'm going to apply to my next networking event, which is actually coming up Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST. So that's tomorrow. So I'm going to apply those things that you just mentioned just so that I can get more people in because Facebook recently, I only have 50 invites now, and that's not enough to get people into my events because I was relying on that a little bit too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm using other methodologies to make sure that there are people showing up and getting the value of networking from that event.
Yeah. I think that's true of anything though. It's not, we're talking about networking events, but that's true of if you're doing a workshop, if you're promoting a course or a new program, you've got to the more clear you are about the result or the transformation that thing that you're promoting gets people, the more you're going to sell them, the more people are going to sign up for it, the more downloads are going to happen. So it's like, start with the end in mind.
Absolutely. How do you describe yourself at networking meetings? Do you have a 30 to 90-second introduction ready?
It is I'm giggling because I often treat networking events like a playground. Like, this is an opportunity for me to try new things and see what works and see what doesn't work. So, and I think for me, it's about keeping things fresh and new. I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm all about ideas and inspiration. And so this for me is how I get to like flex my creative juices a little bit and be like, I'm gonna have some fun with this. But what I would say is that I typically try to look at what is the thing that I'm wanting to promote at this time. And based on what I'm trying to promote, then my introduction is going to adjust just slightly based on what the thing is. So if I'm at this particular time promoting my workshop, then I might introduce myself a little bit different. If I'm promoting my course or my membership or something else, then I tailor my intro to that. But I think, and I know this, this, Lori, so this is not for you, this is for everybody listening. One of the worst things you can do is have a set script and then you just read it to the camera and you sound like you're super boring and nobody wants to listen to it, right? And I think that happens, one, if you're not prepared, but more than that is if you've done it 3,000 times. If I've introduced myself 3,000 times and this is the 3,001 time, I'm bored with what I'm saying. And as a result, energetically, it doesn't come across inside of those intros. So even if you are going to use the exact same script every single time, which you totally can, make it like it's the first time you're saying it. You have to feel the energy of that intro as if you are as excited as you were when you first came up with that, because that energy translates inside of these networking events. And, I was at a networking event a month or so ago and everybody got to go around. And I'm telling you what, by about the 10th person, I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep because it was just blah, blah, blah. It was like the Charlie Brown teacher. And your energy comes through on video, even inside a networking event. So if you're not excited about what you do, your listeners aren't going to be excited about what you do. So find that energy no matter what you're talking about.
And of course, I would totally agree with that.
I know you would.
How have you changed the way that you network over time since you started?
The way I network or the way I conduct networking events? Or both?
Both.
I think the best answer that I would give you is I'm more intentional with it. I think when I first started, I think we just get all excited, and the next thing you know, you've got 100 coffee chats booked, and you're like, "How did I end up here? How did I get so ahead of myself that I have 100 coffee chats booked?" And you're just booking them with everybody willy nilly, and the next thing you know, you're like, this is not what I want. This is not what I meant to have happen. So I think I'm more intentional with what I'm trying to achieve, where I'm trying to lead people, who I want to talk with, what I want to talk with them about. And that has definitely changed from like me attending networking events. I even find myself, I have a couple of networking events that I try to go to every time they offer. And recently, like just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I found myself going, you know what, I'm not going to go today because right now I don't need more leads. I don't need more clients. Like I'm in a good place right now. I don't need more energy. And so giving myself permission to be like, I don't go just to go. It's not just to go to check it off on my list. It's a go because I have a purpose in going and I'm trying to achieve something. I'm trying to meet new people or connect with new people or whatever it can be. But that intention is probably at the forefront, and it didn't used to be. For my own events, I would say, I think when I first started, again, that energy, that excitement was crazy, right? And so I was doing them all the time. Like, I don't know if I think for a while I did it every week, and then I went to twice a month, and it was just, it's a lot. I put a lot of time, energy, and effort into my events and planning them and leading them and making sure that, there's value there. And I think what I had to kind of check in with myself is it's a balance. Like, yes, I might want to do more of these things, but if more of them is depleting my energy, then maybe I need to do less. Maybe less is more. So it's figuring out how much I want to do and being intentional on that side of it too.
And I would totally agree with that. Last month I did 3 networking events, which was great. But also I'm only doing 2 this month because December and the holidays.
Yeah.
And then I'll revisit that in January.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, with networking, you're in the business of networking, but those of us that are in the business of something else, like you teach programs or courses or whatever it is that you do, you also have to look at what is the return on that investment of time. What are you getting out of those events? And if it's not serving you, is it serving others? Are other people getting? And so it's always looking at not just how can this be better for the people who are attending, but how does this benefit me? How does this help me do what I'm trying to do? And just constantly, checking in with yourself. I love what you said. I'll revisit that in January. All of us need to be doing more of that. Like checking in to say, is this still serving me? Or do I need to do something different? Is this still getting value, or do I need to change it up?
What do you think is the most important thing for business owners to make the most of new connections when they start networking? Because you talked about not wasting your time.
Yeah. Yeah. Be intentional with what you want. Don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid, if you don't like doing coffee chats, you don't have to do coffee chats. I know for the longest time, I felt like I had to do coffee chats. And most coffee chats drain me. And that's because I'm an introvert. I'm also very shy. And so there's a whole energy thing there. But don't be afraid to set your own boundaries around what you can and don't want to do. It's important to have that balance. But I think, what I would say is most important is be intentional with what you're trying to do. It doesn't mean that you have to go in with an angle or a pitch or to be greedy. Your intention can just be, I want to meet 4 new people. Your intention can be, you know what I'm really looking for? I'm wanting to meet somebody who does copywriting. I'm making that up. I'm not specific. I'm just using that as an example. But like, the more intentional you can be with what you're trying to get out of it, you'll actually find those things because you're looking for it. And I think, the other thing that I would say is the networking events themselves is not the end. It's not the end of the sentence. It's the start. And if you don't have a mechanism for following up and connecting and doing something after the fact, you need to know what that is. And it can be different for you than it is for me, which is different than what Lori does. There's no one size fits all, I don't think. It's about figuring out energetically and what is getting you the results that you want. And so make sure that you're spending time figuring out how this helps you, how this serves you. And, every once in a while I see people, I'm in a networking group right now and people are saying, oh my gosh, it's the end of the year and I don't have my 100 coffee chats done for the year. I've got a goal. I'm going to do 100 coffee chats in whatever period of time. And that's a great goal. And I'm glad they have that goal, but it's kind of, it creates that frenetic energy. And is that what the energy you want? Do you want to just hit a number, or do you want good quality conversations and good interactions? And do you want to be talking with people that actually make you feel good, or are you just checking things off a list? So if I'm all about setting goals, I set goals myself, but I also recognize if that goal doesn't serve me, I can walk away from it and I can adjust my goal. I can change my goal. I can say, I don't want to just do 100 coffee chats. I want to do 5 good ones. And aren't you going to get more with less?
That's absolutely the case. It's not necessarily that more is better. It's being intentional. And I love how you brought that up.
Yeah.
Would you say you're more introverted or extroverted? I know you kind of covered this before, but how does that affect the way you network?
Big time. I'm a big time introvert. I'm also very shy, which is those are 2 different things. I would say that networking in general can be draining for me if I just go crazy with it. And so what I find myself doing is limiting the number that I might do, limiting the number of coffee chats that I do. And being more specific about what it is that I want. Because if I were to just say, I'm going to do 100 of these, I know by about 10 in, I'm going to be tired and wish I never set that goal. So it has to be more organic for me. It has to be more intentional. It has to be more, less is more. I also try not to do more, like, I'll set limits. I'm only going to do 2 this week, or I'm going to skip this week. So really, checking in on what I need and making sure that I'm giving myself time, energy, and effort to like recharge my battery. So, and I do this not just with networking events, but even one-on-ones, even my group coaching containers. Immediately afterwards, I have some downtime. And the downtime is not, let me go get some tasks done. The downtime is, I'm going to go take my dog for a walk. I'm going to just sit and have a cup of coffee and read my book for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be this long period of time, but it's I think of it like a introversion is like a battery drain, right? And so after if I'm really giving everything I can to a networking event, at the end of that, I'm going to be depleted. And so I need to recharge that battery. So what do I do to recharge that battery? That's what I do right after a networking event. So it's not because I'm an introvert, I can't do networking. It's if I do a lot of these, I'm going to feel tired and exhausted and drained. So I have to plan in order to recharge in between sessions. Does that help?
That totally makes sense. And I know a lot of my audience is more introverted.
Yeah.
So for me, it depends. Some things rev me up and other things drain me.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you prefer networking in groups or having more one-to-one conversations?
Oh, I think it changes. Like we just said, I think it changes based on how I'm feeling. I think right now, I'm just in the point with my business that I prefer the group right now because it has a greater filter. I can be in a group and I can meet 20 or 30 people and find the 1 or 2 that I want to follow up with, and then I'm off. Where if I do one-on-ones, that's a lot more time, energy, and effort to meet all of those people one-on-one to figure out the 2 that I want to go deeper on. So I think right now it's more group, but there's nothing better than a one-on-one consultation. You really can go deeper and really get to know people. And I love that. I had a coffee chat just before this interview, and it was awesome. We were so connected and talking about all sorts of ideas, and that energy just feels good. Right. But I think the thing that I think all of us have to watch is, just because you connect with somebody doesn't mean that it's the right networking opportunity. I mean, some of the biggest networking opportunities that I found are people that maybe I didn't have that instant connection with, that they saw something different. And that's what I love about networking, is it's not about, I need to find 10 people like me. It's, I need to find 10 people who have something I don't have, because together, that's where collaboration comes in. They see something in a different way, and that makes me better. And so I'm off on a tangent here, but I think when you meet with people one-on-one, you have the ability to dig into that a little bit better. You get to know them deeper. And, I had a coffee chat. This was a while ago, but I remember at the end of the coffee chat, I was like, I don't know why I met this person. Like, but there has to be a reason. Like, I'm sure it's going to reveal itself at some point. And then I kind of just like, you just kind of end the call and you think, well, that was nice. Who knows? And it was probably a month later, somebody needed something. And I was like, oh, that's why I met that person. I met that person a month ago because you other person needed that connection. And I pride myself on being a connector of people. I love to be able to say, you know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to Lori. You know who you need to talk to? You need to talk to whoever. And you never know where a networking opportunity can lead. It may, just because it's not perfect for you right now, doesn't mean that knowing that person isn't going to help somebody else. So I know this is not the question, but I would always say to everybody, like, you don't do networking because it's like, what is in it for me? You do networking because it's like, you never know where these connections are going to lead. And if you go into networking just being open to that, it will reveal itself. It might take weeks or months, but it will happen. So tangent there, but hopefully it was a good tangent.
No, it was an excellent tangent, and I love how you expanded on that. And honestly, I've been saying that it's not about, oh, instantly. You might meet somebody, is somebody they need that person. So I absolutely love that you brought it up.
And how many times do we, I know I have gotten a client who has been in my world for years before they become a client, and they attend my networking events or they attend my lives, and it's just not the right time for them at that point. But that doesn't mean that we're in a hurry. You have to just let it unfold. And I think it's a patience thing almost, right? I mean, yes, do you get some networking opportunities and it just hits right away? And yeah, of course, but it's more of a long-term game than anything else.
And I think that's an important point to bring up, because I know sometimes people are like, they're not seeing results. The results are there. They just haven't hit them yet.
Yeah. It's like, how are you measuring your results, right? And there are lots of ways to measure success that don't involve revenue and clients.
Exactly. And I'll be adding that into more of my content soon.
Good. Yeah.
Would you say getting comfortable being uncomfortable is part of the entrepreneur skill set?
For sure. 100%. One of the things that I talk about, and I'm specifically talking about video here, but it applies to networking. It applies to whatever it is that you are working on. If you are trying to develop a new skill, whatever it is, you have to go through 3 steps, and there's no way around it. Okay. You have to start, you suck, you get better. And so I think the problem is most people don't start because they don't want to suck. That perfectionism comes in, and we think, I have to be perfect at it. And because I'm not perfect at it, I'm not going to do it. So then you never get where you want to go because you avoid it. Or you start doing the thing, you suck at it because you don't know what you're doing, and you give up and you quit. And we say, that's it. I'm not going to do this. I'm just not built to do video or whatever it is. Networking is just not for me. I'm not going to do it. And the reality is that sucking is part of the process. And if you can just get to the point where you embrace the suck, that's what I always say. Embrace the suck. I swear, Lori, one of these days I'm going to get t-shirts. Embrace the suck. But it's what you're talking about. It's get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where you're learning. That's where you're pushing your boundaries. That's where it only feels yucky at first. But once you start to recognize, oh, this is why this feels this way, you can embrace it easier. I think all the time being an entrepreneur is like playing a video game. And there are multiple levels. There are levels forever. But at the end of each level, there's a monster you have to beat. And that monster is challenging you. It's helping you. It's checking to see, are you ready to advance to the next level? We don't want to put you into the next level of this game until we know you've got these skills. And you battle and you battle and you battle and you battle and you get better and you get better and you get better. And then you go to the next level. And then things are good for a while. And then you're at the end of that next level, another monster. That's entrepreneurial life. And the first few levels, you don't know what's happening. And so it's hard. And you're feeling like, I'm not cut out for this. I can't do this. It's not working. But that moment right there where you have to really lean into your grit and to your resilience and to your mindset work, that's that pivotal moment. And when you can get to the point where you start to recognize, oh, I see what's happening here. I'm at the end of a level. I'm just about ready to level up. I'm expanding, I'm growing, I'm doing something, I'm developing something new. And you can say, I can embrace this sucky part. I can embrace the fact that this uncomfortable feeling is not forever. It's uncomfortable because I haven't developed enough. And when you can start to notice that uncomfortable feeling gets easier to handle. And as much as we want to think, I beat the monster at the end of the level, I don't have to deal with that ever again. Nope. There's going to be more monsters all the way through your whole entrepreneurial journey. Every time you're leveling up, every time you decide to take on a new project or grow in some way, you're going to have to go through that. So, being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. It's not. But for those of us that feel like it's just, I'm called to do this, I have to do this, I don't have a choice to do this. Like, I think this piece of get comfortable with being uncomfortable is the secret sauce. Like, this is the thing you've got to master in order to get where you want to go. So, Lori, 100% do I think that is the case.
I've definitely found that in my own thing. And one of the things I sort of did to bypass the sucking is just tell myself I'm good at it, even though deep down I know I'm not. Kind of a cheat code.
It is kind of a cheat code. I'm not a big manifestation. I try to manifest myself, but I'm not like, I don't coach on manifestation. But what I hear people say, those who are, is that what you have to tell yourself is that I'm doing it. I'm getting better. Every little step, I'm getting better and better and better and better and better at this. And it's dreaming of the day when I'm great at it. And I think for whether it's video or networking or whatever it is that all of you do, it's making sure that your audience, that you're not just pushing on the pain points, that you're pushing on the dreams and the vision and the hope and the wants, because that's what gets people to take action. Is they want to do that thing. They want it to be easy and seamless and flawless, and they want to get results and they want it to work. They want to feel better, whatever it is that you do, because hope is a really good reason to go after working with somebody, right? It's, yes, you have the pain point. Yes, you have the struggle, but focus on the goal that they have and see if that doesn't help you get even further faster.
I love that. Did you invest in upgrading your networking skill set? What investments helped? What ones didn't really do much for you?
Okay, I'm going to answer this in a weird way, because I feel like, have I specifically invested in learning a networking skill? No. But have I invested in learning networking skills with my time and my money and my energy? Yes. And I think my background is probably why I haven't. Like, I spent 25 years corporate America, and it was all about facilitation. It was, how do you facilitate inside a classroom? How do you teach people something inside of a webinar? How do you get people to feel something, take action, do something? I mean, that was my world for 25 years. So was there an investment in time and money to learn all of that? Yes. And so I think I've been able to take those skills and apply it to networking. And I think a lot of people probably don't have that. So if I didn't have that background, do I think, investing in networking skills is an important skill set to develop and have? Absolutely. Right. Because there's only so many ways that you can find leads. There's a limited number, right? You can post content, you can run ads, you can network. Like, those are the big three. There are several other ways, but those are the big ones. And so if networking is something that's not working for you, figure out why it's not working and figure out how to do it better. I think that's the case with anything, right? If whether it's networking or video in my case, or whatever it is that you want to learn, investing your time, energy, and money in order to get better at that skill only helps you get there faster. And I think skills like networking are important core entrepreneurial skills that we should all have. So I know that's a roundabout way of answering it, Lori, but like I think about all of the different networking events that I've tried over the years. That's an investment. I gave my time and my money to figure out what doesn't work, what I don't like. And so it's a process. And like I said before, I think sometimes we're so impatient and we want things at the snap of a finger, and it doesn't come that fast. It comes when you are more settled and you have more calm energy. You're going to attract exactly what you want. So if networking feels forced or hard or challenging, then invest in getting better at it. Because if you are more relaxed, you're going to accomplish more. Your return on that investment is going to be greater.
Absolutely. And I love how you answered that.
I gave you a non-answer, but it was an answer nonetheless, right?
I know you've kind of covered this before, but how do you balance the time networking with the other parts of your life and business so you are putting the right amount of time and energy into it?
That's a hard question, right? Because it's going to be different for everybody. And I think it depends on, are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? How do you want to spend your time? I know for me personally, I have to have more balance in my day. I need more white space and more thinking time versus go, 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 busy, busy, busy. Other people, like I think about my husband, we always talk about, maybe he would sometime maybe want to get a work from home job. He couldn't do it. If he had that much, he wouldn't work. He doesn't have the, I don't know if discipline's the right word, but he doesn't have the structure to hold himself accountable to filling the day. He needs to get up in the morning and have to go to a job, and he has specific tasks that he has to do. Everybody's different. We all work differently. So I think each of us has to figure out what that right balance is. And about the only, tips that I can give you is check in with your own energy. If you're not feeling it, then you've got to get to a point where you are. Maybe you're doing too many things. Maybe pull back on some of it. If you're not getting the results that you want, check your energy, because it could be that you're showing up to all of these events and you're like, where is it? Where is it? And if you're trying to force that, it's not going to come. It's like the equivalent of, I need a black dress for a party this Friday. And you're going to go to the mall or go wherever you shop and you're looking for a black dress and you can't find that black dress anywhere. It's because you're forcing it. You're trying to find it. When if you just relax, right, then it's easy. It's much easier. So I think we have to, whether it's networking or anything else that you're doing in your business, it's about figuring out what works for you. And the best advice that I can give everyone is to say, it just because it works this way for one person doesn't mean that that's the way it works for you. So know yourself well enough to be like, I think the hard part is like, how hard do I push myself to do something? Like, that's really the question. Do I need to just push myself to do this harder because I haven't learned it or I'm not good at it yet? And how much of it is I'm trying to fit a square peg into a round hole and it's just not going to fit. It doesn't align. It doesn't fit. And that's a tricky part because you're not real sure which one it is, right? So I think you have to learn to check in with yourself, and whether that's journaling or meditating or doing, the sway test or muscle testing to figure out what's the right answer for you. And I think, earlier, one of the questions you asked was about the way that I introduced myself. You got to start to look at all of this as a playground and to say, I'm going to try it different. So this month, here's what I'm going to try with my networking. And we'll see what works. Next month, I'm going to try something else and see what works. So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit, but that requires you to know, what am I measuring success on? How am I going to measure myself to know whether or not this test helped? How am I going to make this decision on this test? Is it I feel better? Is it a result, right? Success doesn't always have to be how many clients did I get? How much revenue did I generate? Sometimes your success measure is, man, that was such a great event. I felt so good after that event. I'm going to go to that one over and over and over again. You can have different networking events that feed your soul in different ways. And there's nothing wrong with that. So it's like, figure out what works for you and how you're going to measure success. And then like I said earlier, I love that you said, I'm going to check in next month and see what I want to do. That's what we all have to do on anything, is check in and be like, is this working for me? If it's not, you have permission to ditch it. If it is working, then you're going to do it again. Maybe you push yourself a little further. Maybe you do something different, right? And I think, the last best advice I can give you is, if networking is something that you need help with, find somebody like Lori to help you, right? Find somebody who does this and can see your blind spots. Because, like I love to say to my clients all the time, the pickles can't see the label from inside the jar, right? They need somebody else to be like, here's what may be going on. Here's what you're missing. So I feel like in almost every step of entrepreneurialism, you're going to need a coach to help you see your blind spots. So if networking is one of those spots for you, get some help. Find somebody that can help you with it.
I would totally agree with that, because I know sometimes people are like, but I could just coach myself, but you're not seeing it from somebody else's perspective. And so it's great to have a coach or just somebody with a completely different perspective to look at things.
Yes.
Because that's where you're going to start seeing your gaps.
Well, and I think this whole idea of I can just coach myself, you can, but will you? Are you going to push yourself in the same way? Are you going to hold yourself accountable in the same way? Do you have the same access to all of the feedback? And that's what's going to get you forward faster. It's any coach is not going to be able to completely eliminate the sucky part. We all have to go through the sucky part, but a good coach can help you get there faster, can help you, can be there to support you when things don't go well, can be your biggest cheerleader, right? And I think over the course of your entrepreneurial journey, we're all going to have multiple coaches that are coaching us on different things. So what I would encourage anybody to look at is, if I invest in this, whatever this is, whatever the thing is it going to help me achieve my goals faster? That's a great way to make a decision on who can help me the most. And I think we all fall into that trap of, I can use ChatGPT, I can coach myself. Maybe, but will you, right? Important call out.
What are your thoughts on tapping into your intuition when networking? How would you say it is different from just things like feeling nervous, excited, etc.?
Speaking of investing, one of the things that I have invested in for myself this past year has been developing my intuition. Because it is a skill that you can develop, right? And I think intuition, I think, helps me decide who I want to, who I want to continue this discussion with. And it's knowing the difference, like I said earlier, of, this is somebody that I connect with. We're very similar. We would be friends. That might not be the right choice. It might be somebody that you're like, that person said something that really got my brain going. I want to know more about it. So I think it's being open to, one of the biggest things that I've learned in my corporate America journey is that when you're hiring for an open position, you don't hire somebody that's like you. You hire somebody that has the skills that you don't have, or the skills that your team doesn't have, because those additional skill sets make the whole team better. And I think when it comes to networking, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to connect and collaborate and meet people that have something you don't have that can help both of you elevate. I refer to it as 1 + 1 = 3. This whole idea of it, there's a multiplier in there, right? If I come with this and you come with this, together we escalate, together we grow bigger and bolder. And I think your intuition can help guide you on that. Now, the part of that question where you're like feelings and nervous and excitement, that's kind of what we were talking about before. If going to networking events feels nervous, one, I would say, stop telling yourself you're nervous. Tell yourself you're excited, because it has a whole different energy, right? The chemical reaction that's going on in your body when you're nervous versus when you're excited is very similar. They're very close. And so instead of saying to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I'm going to meet new people. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I'm developing this skill. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, who knows who I'm going to meet today. It's it's a way of elevating your mindset and forcing yourself to be positive instead of negative. And that energetically is going to feel different. And when that feels different, you're putting out those energetic vibes. People are going to be more attracted to that. So I don't know that that's necessarily intuition, but just a little tip on the whole nervous versus excited, because I get that a lot with video, as you can imagine, Lori. People regularly are like, I'm so nervous to do video. I'm so nervous to go live. Nope, you're excited. Let's reframe that. It kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, right? Like the telling yourself the positive side is the cheat code. And there's a cheat code around nervousness too, right? Did I answer the question about intuition? I feel like I kind of danced around it, but did I give you some nuggets anyway?
You were very good, and especially
Okay.
the fact that you were investing and improving that, and that it's a skill set, and I totally agree with you on that.
Yeah.
What are some of the surprising benefits you have gotten from networking besides clients? Because I know everybody wants those.
Yeah. Friendships, connections, being able, like the one example I gave earlier, being able to be like, I don't know why I met you, but I know there's a reason. And then the reason comes weeks later or months later. And you're like, that's why I met that person, because you need that person. Right. I think the other thing that I would say did you say surprising things? Yeah.
Surprising benefits. Yeah.
Surprising benefits. I would say energy. So like earlier we talked about introvert, extrovert. I find that if I am feeling low energy, maybe, I don't know, maybe things aren't going well in my business, or maybe I'm just having a bad day, or maybe there's some personal issue going on. Sometimes I can go to a networking event if it's a good event and walk away having my cup filled. Like I walk away from that event feeling better about myself, feeling better about where I'm at. And I think that's a good networking event, right? Because so many of us as entrepreneurs are solopreneurs. Like that was the hardest part for me, coming from being a director at a big company. I had a team of people, right? So anytime there was something to work on, I had teams of people and we collaborated, and there was always somebody with expertise. When you're a solopreneur, it's like, who's going to do that? Because I don't see anybody here. Like it's all on me. I got to do it all by myself. And so it can feel very isolating, very alone. We can feel like pressure. All this pressure is on me. And so I think going to networking events, especially like some of the ones that I'm thinking of in my head, are like, that's your people, that's your tribe, that's the people that help fill you up. That's the people that you can go to and be like, I'm having a bad day. I need to borrow some of your energy, or I need to borrow some of your belief in me. I need to walk away feeling inspired. And I think we often think about networking, like you said, did I get clients? Did I get sales? And we think very transactional. I think the most surprising benefit to networking is feeling like you're not alone. Like you've got people around you, that there's not a problem that you can't solve if you've just got the right people that you can reach out to for help. And so that would be the biggest surprise, I would think.
Yeah, and ultimately that can translate into clients and sales, because they can see the things you're not seeing.
Exactly. And then you never know where it's going to lead. Like I always think about, what is that, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? Remember that game? And you still hear people talking about it. Like Kevin Bacon has connected all of these different people, and you can trace it back. It's almost like the genealogy family tree stuff. Well, the same is true here. You never know where a connection is going to lead. You might not know for weeks or months or years where a connection is going to lead, but just being open to where could this go? That's the beauty. At least what I think. That's the beauty of networking, is connecting with people and not having a fixed outcome. I don't know where this is going to lead, but I trust that it's going to lead somewhere awesome. And if you can go into networking events with that mindset, you can't lose.
I would totally agree with that. Any closing remarks or things you want to add?
Oh my gosh. Closing remarks. So many things that we talked about in Unplugged here, Lori. What would I say? You mean specifically about networking?
Yeah, that would be great. Or if you just wanted to add, hey, I've got this offer and
Okay.
go
Okay.
buy it.
Okay, so I have several things. Here's what I would say. If you're trying networking and it's not working for you for whatever reason, don't give up. You might just not have found the right event, right? So what I would tell you to do is, instead of going back to the same networking events that you're already going back to again and again, reach out and go to a different one. Try something new, try something different. Check in with yourself like we talked about today. Check in with yourself and say, what is the energy that I'm showing up when I'm going to these events? Because if you're showing up to these events and you're like, I'm not going to get a client, you're not going to get a client, right? So check in with yourself, try a different event. There are so many different networking events out there. And if you still can't find one, create your own. Like, create the event that you are looking for, and it's like, what is that quote?
Be the
Oh,
change you want to
be
see.
the change you want to see. Yeah, there you go. If anybody who's watching this wants to come to my networking event, I do it once a month. It's always on a different day, different time to accommodate different people. I call it Network Differently. It is all about having discussions, and it's very much what I've been talking about today, and that is, we connect by talking about something that's important to all of us. And you'll walk away feeling poured into, feeling inspired, feel like you've got ideas and a group of people that are in the same boat that you are in, and they'll be there to help support you should you need it. So if that's something of interest, let me know. I think my next event, I'm looking at my calendar, it's next Monday, 1:00 Central. If you're interested, reach out, let me know. I would absolutely love to have you. If video is where you need some help, if you are struggling with showing up, being consistent, what do I talk about? How do I talk about it? I've got a free workshop this Thursday called Videos That Connect. You're going to walk away with a whole list of ideas of videos that you can do and a 3-step model of how to do it. So if that's of interest, hit me up. I'll get you the details and we'll get you registered. Both are free. My networking event is free and the workshop's free. Thanks, Laura.
It was great having you.
This was fun.
Anything else?
No, I feel like we did it pretty good there.
All right.